Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Baron here, and we have three big announcements to cover. Today is Tuesday, May the 14th, and in the last day or so, Gaijin has made some relatively big, bold statements. The first is that Gaijin is releasing two new maps for War Thunder. The second announcement is that War Thunder will be going to the next-gen console, the PlayStation 4. So that is pretty interesting. A lot of things, will be affected or could be affected as a result of that decision. And third and finally, and the thing that I am the most interested in, is that Gaijin has released a Ground Forces teaser trailer. Alright, so let's get into it. First, let's look at some of the screenshots for the new maps. There's two new maps called Cliff Coast, and here you can see there's four different images. A lot of green rolling hills. Here you get a nice little sunset or sunrise, the weather and time of day effects on the maps. And the third, if you look in the background, you can see a number of ships. So is this going to be a map kind of similar to Two Towns or, Archipelago or anything like that, where you'll be flying but your objectives kind of tend to orient around the ships? And then finally you have this nice topside view over the Irish countryside. Now, the second map is called Desert Coast. So coast is definitely the theme of these two maps. Desert Coast, they said, is based off the sunburnt lands, lifeless cliffs, and scarcely populated areas of North Africa. And here you can see they're gonna put, it says coast, so could we see naval vessels? I'm wondering if this is going to be kind of an amphibious landing type map. Is this kind of based off of Operation Torch, where the Allies landed in French Morocco and Algeria? One can only guess. Check out this pretty sweet looking village. It's going to be nice to have this kind of desert ambiance. And then finally, you get more weather effects, and you see that this village is bordering, the coastline. So that's kind of lead me to believe that we could be seeing a kind of Operation Torch inspired African map. I would like to see that. So now let's get into PlayStation 4. It's a rather big announcement. A lot of things. There's a lot of speculation as to how this can and might affect what we are currently enjoying for us PC game players. But what is known is that Gaijin is, from what they have announced, they are going for a holiday 2013. The holiday season of 2013 is when they're hoping to have War Thunder available for the PlayStation 4. And some of the things that they'll be able to do by using, the next generation console technology is that they are looking for head tracking system, which is basically like you can have a headset to where you moving your head can trigger your pilot's basically, awareness or visibility. He'll turn his head as well, while the plane will continue to fly in the direction that you're controlling it using your mouse or your keyboard. Noobs like myself. Your joysticks, or obviously in PlayStation's case, your controllers. So that would be pretty cool. A lot of games are moving in that direction to utilize head tracking, which kind of just increases your, your control of the game. They're saying that there's going to be easier socializing tools. It's safe to say that the majority of gamers are on consoles these days. Although I'm an ardent PC game player, I also have the Xbox 360, and I got that because I first bought the PlayStation 3 when it first came out. Yeah, I was one of those noobs paying $600. Broke the bank for it when I was in college. Missed a spring break as a result. And I'll tell you what, man. I did not play too many games on PlayStation 3. One game I did play, though, was Warhawk, which is kind of interesting. I liked it, how you could use air vehicles while you could fight in ground vehicles. So that was one of the reasons, that was one of the games I enjoyed playing. So War Thunder is kind of just a better version of that. So we'll see how that works out. Now, the PlayStation 4 also will allow for players to more easily record gameplay and share it. That's kind of interesting. Right now, YouTube is flooded with gamers who are uploading their stuff, and as things get easier, there will just be more content. We'll see how that affects everything, probably for the better, as you'll get to see more reviews, more gameplay, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. And its exposure for popular games or even lesser known games have just exploded as a result of YouTube, where people upload video of that. Indie games, Minecraft for example, was pretty much made, its popularity growth just exploded as a result of a lot of the big YouTubers playing it, because it was a rather innovative game, but it was an indie game. And that could be good for War Thunder too, increasing the player base. The more the player base increases, the better it is for us as players, because that means more money is going to the developers and they will continue to support it and make bigger moves. But there are a lot of questions. We know that Gaijin has a separate team developing War Thunder for mobile platforms. So that is interesting. A lot of people are like, well, PlayStation 4, the general consensus is that more players will probably, people are speculating more people will play via the PlayStation 4. So they're like, oh, well, we have to take a back seat in terms of support, patching, and development in that to the PlayStation gamers. Some other things are, will there be account sharing? Like, if I buy a PlayStation 4, could I play War Thunder? Obviously I could, but could I play it with the same account that I use on the PC? I would hope so. A lot of issues are, will it be a console port or will it be developed specifically for the PlayStation 4? These are all speculations. We would like to hear more from Gaijin on this, and they'll be likely releasing this. This announcement came out today. One commenter on the forum even said, "This is a flight simulator on console. Don't make me laugh." My question is it really a flight simulator, with the vast majority of people playing arcade and historical battle, and a minority playing full real battles, which you could say is simulator-esque? I would say that based off the player base, it is not a flight simulator. It is heavily oriented towards arcade players, which kind of makes perfect sense as to why this could be a rather successful console game. Also, PlayStation, Xbox, the next generation consoles will support free-to-play games, so this is more than likely going to be free-to-play on the console as well. Some of the other comments, and I'll have a link to these forum discussions in the channel description. Someone was asking, is Gaijin biting off more than they can chew? They're currently having issues balancing flight models, making them accurate. The economy model, as of 1.29, has caused, I think it's relatively noticeable, a player-based drop. Another commenter put, "Thanks for beta testing for us, you PC plebes." Well, little bit of a dick move there, sir. And then one of the Gaijin administrators, Senio, assured that even though it would be going to PlayStation 4, the PC gameplay would continue to be supported with patching and all of that good stuff. And that seems to make sense. They are making a hefty sum off of this, because these free-to-play game models, I tell you what, there is literally almost no limit to how much you can spend if you want to on this game. If you're a big fan and you got the money, you can spend it, and Gaijin likes it. And that helps support the game, so the rest of us, in the middle of the road people and those that don't spend their money at all, it benefits you as well. So now let's get to the good stuff, in my opinion, and that is the Ground Forces teaser. And a lot of people are excited about the teaser because it is essentially announcing that the ground forces, ground units, tanks, however you want to call it, will be the next addition to this game. There was speculation, would it be tanks? Would it be ships? Well, I think it's safe to say that it is tanks. And a lot of people are mad, because it didn't show any gameplay. You didn't even really see a tank. You saw a rifled barrel. You saw some tank tracks. You heard some pretty good sound effects. But that was it. But hey, they called it a teaser, not a trailer. And what does a teaser do? Well, it gets us to do what we are doing right now. It raises curiosity. The more people are curious, the more people are going to talk about and speculate as to what's going to happen. Now, there was a decent point made on the forums, and this is kind of like dealing with, I guess, differing doctrines of approach in dealing with competition. One person said, and it's commonly asked, a lot of people are asking it, why is Gaijin going after tanks? Because Gaijin is directly, indirectly competing with Wargaming in their world of tanks. So the thought was, why is Gaijin going to tanks, which some people are claiming that Wargaming already has the tank gameplay down. Some people have even gone on to say that they have perfected it. Why will they not instead develop the naval aspect of the game and essentially, quote, cut off Wargaming? Because if they get to Navy first, their plane game is arguably better currently, and if they get to Navy first, they'd be the first ones there. So they would likely capture a lot of people who want to play the naval aspect of the game. And therefore they would, capture market share, be the first ones there, etc., etc. But that brought up a lot of good points. It's kind of two things. Do you want to head off your opponent, or do you want to go for the knockout blow? I mean, if you were to use a boxing analogy, it'd kind of be like, I could go and try to beat this opponent on points. We'd both be standing at the end of the match, or it's riskier, but I'm going to go for the knockout blow. I want to knock them out. Not necessarily saying you would knock out Wargaming completely, but you kind of get the gist of that analogy. With Gaijin going straight for the ground aspect of the game, they are making a bold statement. And that is, we are going to make a better version of tank and ground vehicle combat than World of Tanks. And we're going to get all those players who may or may not be frustrated with World of Tanks currently. So, let's see. To the statement that Wargaming has perfected tank gameplay. Well, I guess in one aspect they may have. But World of Tanks, I've played it, and it was kind of fun at first, given its novelty. It was a lot of fun to play as tanks, but I slowly got a little tired of it, personally. And obviously there are people who've played it for the 2 years and loved it, played hours each day, and all the power to you. And that just kind of goes to show the differing needs and wants of gamers. It's balanced. It is a balanced game. You have small maps. One commenter on the forums even said, there is zero complexity to the gameplay. There's usually there's 3 choke points on the maps. The left, the middle, and the right. And for the most part, that is pretty true. and it's just tanks versus tanks. You're in cities, but there are no other targets. So it's very basic. It's very simple, which may have attracted a lot of people. They've also balanced it because, as someone else pointed out, how are we going to get people to play other tanks than the elite German and Russian tanks, which were arguably the best tanks in the war? The heaviest, like, they're just absolute beasts. How do you get people to want to play Sherman tanks? How do you get people to want to play... Well, there is no Japanese faction. How do you get people to want to play some of the other British tanks? All of these kinds of considerations you have to think about. Well, they made the game balanced. They basically threw off historical accuracy in order to make it balanced, so you could play any faction and you could enjoy it. Now, this kind of brings into what is Gaijin doing in terms of ground forces and tanks? Well, currently in the game, this is my hope. This is as much hope as it is reading into what we can currently see in the game. There's AI-controlled ground units. You may be fighting AI-controlled tanks. You may be fighting AI-controlled infantry. There's vehicles. There's even convoys in certain maps. So I'm hoping, and it's reasonable to assume that you won't just be going tanks versus tanks all the time, although that may be a game mode if you want it. Just tanks versus player-controlled tanks and ground vehicles, because we have more than just tanks. I'm excited about that. So, Gaijin has even hinted at, there's a lot of action going on in the rumor mill that Gaijin is going to have multi-crewed vehicles. So that means I could team up with my buddies and 3 or 4 of us be controlling one tank in different aspects. I may be the driver and may have control of the main turret, or the main gun, and someone may have the machine gun or secondary batteries if you're looking at multi-turreted and multi-gunned tank platforms. So there's going to be artillery emplacements, anti-aircraft emplacements that are going to be shooting at the aircraft. You could be sent in to, basically destroy that. You have more targets than just the enemy player-controlled vehicles, which is really exciting. So Gaijin could, instead of go to, I guess, like focusing only on balance and only on tank warfare, they seem to be going in an all-encompassing, in a more historically oriented gameplay model. So with squad-controlled vehicles, and this allows for things like, you look at World of Tanks, they have the M3 Lee, which has a 75mm gun, main gun. It has a secondary 37mm gun, and historically they had 2 or 3 30 caliber Browning machine guns. Well, with all of that firepower, you get to fire one gun. What the hell is the point of driving that tank? And on the Soviet side, the T-35 has a 76.2mm main gun, and then it has 2 45mm turrets. And then it has 5 or 6 machine guns. This thing is a porcupine of firepower. You get to fire one gun. That is silly. And for me personally, just tanks versus just tanks on basic maps gets old fast. I want a little more. With crew controlled, multiple player controlled tanks, you get to use all of this stuff. But in doing so, you have to have targets for all of these types of things. What's the point of firing a machine gun if you're only going to be firing at a tank? Exactly. You got to have those static defenses, AI controlled things, maybe even little infantry squads running around. So the next component is, how will ground forces play? Someone was like, well, the bombers will just beat them up. My question is this: will they? Will they really? Dive bombers have smaller amounts of ordnances. They're the ones that will be able to really land a hit on a tank, assuming the tank is not supported by an anti-aircraft vehicle. Whirlwind, different things with flak cannons on them, stuff like that. even tanks with 50 cal machine guns, 30 cal machine guns. Your buddy who's manning that could even take down a lighter armored plane with that. So, in high altitude bombers, they're notoriously inaccurate. How are you supposed, even if you're carpet bombing, you may not hit a moving target. So, it is the combined arms aspect of this game are going to be awesome. So, the World War component, you have different targets. I think that Gaijin has the potential to knock the ground forces component of this game out of the park. So anyway, that was my rant, my speculations, and some announcements on the 2 new maps. The fact that War Thunder is going to the PlayStation 4, and that we have the ground forces teaser. And it's safe to say that the ground forces will come next. So I'm Baron. Thank you for watching. And any of the links will be in the description below. So stay posted, and I'll see you guys next time. There we go. And, oh wow, I derped right into a tree and somehow survived.
Got the 90 up.
Thank you, sir. I should be dead right now.
Around me.
That was ridiculous.
Got a G2 on me. You got a 109 F on you right now?
Yeah.
My wings are done. I'm going down.
I got a black right wing and a pink left wing. Because I got a little too friendly with a tree. Ooh, hello.
Still up somehow.
We gotta get these bombers down. This TU2 needs to go.